Good evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to News in Focus. My name is Faraz Patel. We'd like to thank you, the viewer, for staying with us here on Hilaal TV, DSTV channel 347. Now, in the recent updates with regards to the crew from the Handala aid ship, a humanitarian activist was assaulted upon arrival at an Israeli prison. The Handala ship, which was carrying baby formula, food and medicine, was seized by Israeli forces near the Gaza coast on Saturday evening, with 21 unarmed civilians on board, including lawmakers, medics and volunteers. Of course, that American citizen was human rights defender Chris Smalls. Joining me now from Haifa, I'd like to welcome Nareman Shehadeh Zoabi, who is a civil and political rights attorney at the Adalah Institute. Of course, this is the institute that is representing those that are currently being detained in Israeli prisons. Nareman, thank you so much for joining us here on News in Focus on Hilaal TV.
Thank you.
Yeah, Nareman, I just want to get the status of Mr. Chris Smalls. He, of course, he has said that he was physically assaulted by 7 uninformed individuals. I just wanted to get Adalah's take on this because, again, just like what we've been seeing now in the last 3 days, this is really in breach of international law.
Yes, as you mentioned, what happened is that this boat Handala was in its way to Gaza for a humanitarian mission, bringing food and formulas for babies starved in Gaza. This ship was intercepted by the Israeli Navy military in the international water, and when they were heading toward Gaza and not in the international, not in the water of Israel, and they were forcibly brought to the Ashdod port. This is where we first met them, and this is the place when, unfortunately, the violent event that happened to Mr. Chris took place by officers who took all the 21 volunteers who were on board to the airport, and where he was, as he said, beaten by 7 officers. In there, we met the volunteers at the port of Ashdod. There we gave them the first legal consultation. What happened there was interrogations for them, asking them about the track they took since the moment they left Sicily until they arrived to Gaza, and they were asked about their what the Israeli authorities, immigration authorities, called the illegal arriving to Israel, though the volunteers insisted that they were not heading to Israel. They were heading to their humanitarian mission into Gaza, and they were taking forcibly to Israel against their will. Israel used the entrance law from 1952 as the legal frame to apply on the volunteers, accused them for being illegally existing or being in Israel, and that's why Israeli authorities issued deportations orders for all of them. Those who agreed to sign the paper for voluntary deportations were immediately deported, and there were 5 of the 21 volunteers. The others were brought in front of a detention review tribunal, where Adalah represented 14 out of the 21. There we argued in depth and about the illegality of the Israeli blockade on Gaza, about Israel's obligations to provide food and humanitarian aid to the civilian population in Gaza, about the obligations of Israel under the international law in general, and specifically after the ICJ ruling and the provisional measures that determines that Israel is responsible for bringing humanitarian aid to the population in Gaza, and blocking a boat that was on a humanitarian mission to bring food and formulas for the babies starved in Gaza, is a violation of Israel's obligations under the international humanitarian law, and also contradicts with the ruling of the ICJ. What the Israeli court decided was that the 14 should stay in custody until the deportations. 7 of them deported yesterday. And the other
Nareman,
7...
Sorry, I have to cut you there because I want to bring in Huwaida Arif. Yesterday, of course, she was released. And what she said is that everything from the moment the Israeli forces had seized the Handala Flotilla till, of course, her leaving and, of course, being deported from Ashdod was everything that contravened international law. And, of course, when we speak of Israel and contravening international law, this has been something since, of course, the 1948 Nakba, but of course, as recently as the genocide in Gaza. What has Adalah assessed from this, given the testimony that Huwaida Arif had mentioned, of course, in some of the earlier interviews she had given?
So, yes, I would mention in the beginning that Huwaida and Robert, both 2 of the 21 volunteers, they both had an Israeli citizenship. That's why they were treated differently by the Israeli authorities. There was no authority for the immigrations authority to deal with them. So they were took separately to a police station in Ashdod, and they were integrated under criminal under the penal code. The track was different from the other 19 volunteers. And yes, what is the blockage on Gaza is in contradiction with the international law, and blocking the humanitarian aid, and blocking a boat that was on its humanitarian mission to bring food and humanitarian aid to people who are being starved under the ongoing genocidal war against Gaza, is a clear violation of the international law and the obligations of Israel under the international law. This is what was the basic of the arguments that Adalah's lawyers argued in front of the detention review tribunal. Though they, as I said, were declared as such illegal immigrants from the moment they were forcibly dragged from the international war to the port of Ashdod. And as I said, 7 of them are still in custody until this moment, and we still don't know when they will be released, though we believe that the deportation will take place in the upcoming 2 days, and we hope that all the volunteers will arrive safely to their homelands, and that no further harm will happen to them until then.
Yeah. Nareman, one final question. That's where I want you to get to. I mean, what is the time frame that Adalah is looking at to try and make sure that all its representatives that are still being held in these Israeli prisons are, of course, deported and of course, can go to their respective countries?
So as for now, we are trying to communicate with the immigration authorities and try to get more details about the estimated time for the deportations of 7 of the 21 volunteers that are still in custody. We still don't have informations. No flights are booked yet for them, but we believe that hopefully in the upcoming 48 hours there will be no volunteers left in the custody of Israel.
Nareman, absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining us. Ma salama.
Thank you very much.
That's Nareman Shehadeh Zoabi, a civil and political rights attorney at Adalah. Up next, we're going to be going to Khan Yunis to speak to Dr. Mohammed Fadlala. As you can imagine, the starvation, the famine continues in and throughout the entire Gaza Strip. How has it been for doctors being treated there with little or no food? We'll be having that conversation after the break.